She said it was just one mistake at a wedding, until I found the hotel bookings, the messages, and the truth. Then I realized it wasn't just betrayal. It was a double life, and I wasn't walking away quietly. Let's begin. My name's Ethan Cole. A year ago, I would have bet everything I had on my marriage. 10 years with Claire, 7 of them married, and I still believed we were solid, built to last. We'd weathered some tough storms, job layoffs, failed house bids, and the brutal heartbreak of 2 miscarriages. But somehow, we always circled back to each other. Or at least, I thought we did. Claire worked in event production, one of those high-octane, high-stress jobs where she was constantly dashing to venues, managing fundraisers, galas, red carpets. I never quite understood her chaotic world, but I respected it. I worked in operations for a shipping logistics firm, deadlines, route strategies, fleet planning. My world was clean and systematic. Hers was glitter, last-minute chaos, and adrenaline. Somehow, we made that contrast work. At least, it used to. We both wanted children. After 2 failed IVF attempts, her doctor gently suggested we take a break. But Claire wasn't ready to give up. I didn't argue. I wanted to be a father too, even if it meant trying one more time when we both barely had the energy left to keep believing. Then came that Wednesday evening. I came home from work late, another warehouse expansion delay, and found Claire in the kitchen holding a white envelope. Ella's wedding is next weekend in Aspen, she said, a weird brightness in her voice. It's a whole weekend thing. Rehearsal Friday, ceremony Saturday, brunch on Sunday. Ella, right, an old college friend of hers. I'd met her once at some rooftop cocktail party Claire had thrown. I gave a small nod. Sounds like a big weekend. I was thinking I'd go with Kelsey. You're swamped at work, and I know you hate those socialite-type weddings. I paused. You don't want me to come? She smiled, a little too quickly. It's not that. I just figured it's easier this way. You've got so much on your plate. We'd done solo trips before, and I trusted her. I'd never had reason not to. Go, I said. Just don't come back with a new last name. She laughed, walked over, kissed me lightly on the cheek, and whispered, Don't be dramatic. I drove her to the airport Friday morning. She wore that oversized beige cardigan I loved, and carried nothing but a weekend tote. Her hair was loose. Casual. She waved at me before disappearing into the terminal. That was the last time I'd ever see our life the same way. Claire texted me a few hours later, a selfie with Kelsey on the plane, champagne in hand. Caption, Bridesmaids behaving badly. I smiled, sent back a laughing emoji, and went back to work. We didn't text obsessively while apart, just quick check-ins. I never hovered. The silence didn't seem unusual. Until the second day. She messaged me. Rain cleared. Ceremony's on. We'll call tonight. But she never did. Then came Sunday. Got in late. I'll tell you everything when I get back. I shrugged it off. Claire had never given me a reason to worry. I picked her up from the airport that evening. She looked exhausted but glowing, like someone who'd just come back from a girls' trip full of laughter and wine. We grabbed Chinese on the way home, curled up on the couch, and watched reruns of that British baking show she loved. That night, she reached for my hand under the covers, pulled herself close, and we made love. I had no idea then how much that moment would haunt me. 2 weeks later, I woke up with a rash across my shoulders and chest. It itched like hell. I thought it was detergent or stress reaction. Then came the fever and the aches. My doctor ordered tests, blood, urine, and something I won't even describe. Could be environmental, he said. We'll rule out everything. 2 days later, I sat across from him as he laced his fingers together, his expression unreadable. Ethan, you tested positive for chlamydia. I laughed. A confused, nervous laugh. That's not possible. He didn't flinch. Have you had any new sexual partners recently? No, I said. Just my wife. Only Claire. Silence. Then, you may want to talk to her. I left the clinic, numb, went straight to another testing center across the city. Same test. Same results, 3 days later. Positive. I hadn't cheated. I hadn't even looked at anyone else. The only possibility was Claire. But I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I started watching. That night, after she showered, I went through her purse. Nothing. Just lip balm, receipts, keys. Then I remembered her overnight bag. She'd left it in the back of our closet. I unzipped it. In the small inner pocket, I found it. A receipt from a pharmacy. The medication was azithromycin. I Googled it. Chlamydia treatment. My hands went cold. When she walked into the room wrapped in a towel, I held up the receipt. What's this for? She blinked. Oh, that's Kelsey's. She forgot her ID. I picked it up for her. Claire. I swear, Ethan. It wasn't mine. I walked to the nightstand, picked up my 2 test reports, and laid them on the bed. She didn't even look. She just sat down, her hands trembling. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. Ooh, just someone at the wedding. I did too much wine. It meant nothing. What's his name? Ethan. It doesn't matter. I haven't even spoken to him since. But you came home and slept with me. I thought I was fine. No, you thought I'd never find out. She cried, tried to reach for me. I stepped back. My voice was calm. I don't need more stories, Claire. I need truth. But truth, I would soon learn, was something she wasn't done hiding. For days. That's how long I stayed in the guest room after I confronted Claire. She brought coffee in the mornings and knocked lightly at lunchtime. Want something to eat? I'm making soup. We can talk if you want. But I didn't answer. Not because I didn't want to talk, because I didn't know how. How do you talk to someone who shattered the reality you both swore to protect? The silence between us wasn't angry. It was hollow. A suffocating vacuum. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't throwing things. I was just gone. And maybe that scared her more. I stared at the ceiling fan most nights, watching it spin like it could rewind time if I looked hard enough. On the 5th morning, I got dressed, skipped the coffee, and called a divorce attorney. It was a quiet decision, like flipping a switch. No theatrics. No accusations. Just, this is over. Claire didn't believe it. When the papers arrived 3 days later, while I was at work, she was sitting on the edge of our couch when I walked in, her eyes red and swollen, holding the envelope like it burned her fingers. You're really divorcing me? She asked, her voice low, like I just ended a decade with a shrug. I dropped my keys on the counter. I told you I can't come back from this. It was a single mistake. No, it was a lie, a risk, and a cover-up. Her voice cracked. I didn't know I had anything. I only filled that prescription in case. In case you gave something to me. I finished. She turned away, guilt and panic flickering across her face. Can't we at least try counseling? I shook my head. I won't rebuild a house you set on fire. The shift in her was immediate. The sorrow dried up. Her jaw clenched. Her tone changed. So that's it. You're done. No, Claire. You ended this. When you flew to that wedding and decided the promises we made didn't matter anymore. She didn't say another word. She moved out 5 days later. I thought that would be the end of it. I didn't know there was still more rot under the floorboards. It was Kelsey, Claire's best friend and her supposed travel companion, who reached out. She texted first. We need to talk. In person. Please. I met her at a small cafe, tucked away in the old part of town. Dim lighting, quiet jazz, and the kind of tables where heavy truths could be laid bare without anyone overhearing. She sat across from me with a full cup of untouched coffee. I shouldn't be doing this, she said, but I can't keep it to myself anymore. I didn't speak. I just let her go. You remember that guy Claire said she slept with? At the wedding. I nodded once. That wasn't some random, drunken mistake. My breath froze mid-inhale. They'd been seeing each other for a while. Months. Maybe longer. She paused. Looked like she was trying to gauge if I already suspected it. I shared a room with Claire that weekend. I saw some messages pop up on her iPad. She freaked when she realized I'd seen them. What kind of messages? I asked, barely recognizing my own voice. They were intimate. Stuff like counting down the days until I'm in your arms again. That was dated a week before the wedding. I stared at the table. Did she ever mention a name? Kelsey hesitated. Nathan Gray. The name hit like a hammer to the chest. Nathan had been her former boss, CEO of a boutique event firm in downtown Seattle. Married, older, polished. He used to compliment me at Christmas parties like he meant it. You've got a good one, Ethan. Don't let her go. I had shaken that man's hand. You're telling me it wasn't a one-time thing? I asked. Kelsey slowly shook her head. No, it was a relationship. She just never had the guts to call it that. Why now? I asked. Why are you telling me this now? Because someone should have told me if it were happening to me. I nodded once, paid the bill, and walked out into the night. That evening, I sat at my desk in the home office. Claire had logged into her WhatsApp once on my desktop. Must have forgotten to sign out. The tab opened. The name was there. Nathan Gray. I clicked. Threads poured in. Some messages were mild, photos of dinners, inside jokes. But others? This time, just us. No excuses. Booked the suite of the lodge. Can't wait to see that dress off you. Wish I was waking up next to you instead of her. One message was dated 2 days before the wedding trip. Another, just a month ago. And then came the hotel reservation screenshot. A luxury spa outside Jackson Hole. Room for 2. Full weekend. I closed my laptop. This wasn't a slip-up. This wasn't a lonely night and too much wine. This was deliberate. A second life. Claire hadn't cheated on me. She'd replaced me. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to take back what I could and make sure she felt it. This wasn't over. This was the beginning of my revenge. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was crying or raging. Because my mind was too clear. Painfully clear. Nathan Gray. A man with a wife. A career. A reputation built on polish and class. And Claire? She wasn't just reckless. She was careful. Calculated. She knew what she was doing. For months, I stared at the wall and thought, if no one had told me, how long would she have kept lying? I wasn't going to break things. I wasn't going to expose her in public. I was going to do what Claire never did. I was going to tell the truth. To the right person. It took less than a day to find her. Melissa Gray. Nathan's wife. All it took was an old company holiday flyer posted to Claire's social page. Melissa's name was in the caption. One search led to a tag yoga fundraiser post. Another led to her online baking business. I found her work email. Then her Instagram. I didn't send a long letter. No anger. No drama. Just facts. Hi, Melissa. You don't know me. My name is Ethan Cole. I was married to Claire, your husband Nathan's former employee. I recently discovered a series of messages and bookings between them dating back several months. I'm not reaching out to cause harm or drama. I simply believe the truth should be yours to know. If you'd like screenshots or details, I'm willing to provide them. If you don't respond, I'll leave it at that. Take care. I hit send. Logged out. Closed the laptop. It wasn't revenge. It was clarity. But her next move made it personal. 3 days later, Claire showed up at my house. Not a text. Not a call. She just walked in like she still lived there. Like she still had a right. I was standing by the kitchen counter. Her face was pale. Eyes stormy. You message her? She snapped. I didn't flinch. I gave her what I didn't get. The truth. She called Nathan's office. Claire hissed. He's furious. I stared at her. He's lucky that's all I did. You just wanted to humiliate me, didn't you? No. I wanted someone to know what I wish I'd known months ago. She threw her hands in the air. You think this makes you noble? It just makes you cruel. Cruel. I stepped closer. You slept with another man. You lied about it. Then you exposed me to something that could have ruined my health. And you think I'm the cruel one. She went quiet. For once, no comebacks. No twisted logic. Then she whispered, You've ruined my life. No. I said calmly. I just stopped protecting her lie. Claire moved to a rental apartment that week. Nathan's wife filed for legal separation, according to Kelsey, who reached out again to say Melissa had thanked her for confirming the truth. Nathan, meanwhile, took a sudden leave of absence. And me? I didn't feel victorious. I felt clean. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's not shouting or slamming doors. Sometimes it's a quiet undoing. One that leaves them facing the wreckage they caused, without anyone left to blame. A week passed after Claire's meltdown in my kitchen. She didn't show up again. She didn't call. But the silence wasn't peaceful. It was loaded. I kept expecting something. Another outburst. An apology. Maybe a long letter filled with explanations. Instead, I got a settlement offer from her attorney. She wanted half of what was left in our joint savings, plus a piece of my retirement account. I declined. The house was mine. My father left it to me years ago, and I had the deed to prove it. Claire had never contributed to the mortgage. Never helped with repairs. That was the line I wouldn't cross. She could have everything else. I wanted freedom, not furniture. A few days later, the final papers came through. Signed, sealed, filed. There was no court drama, no witnesses, just a quiet signature that erased a decade. That night, I changed the locks. Not to keep her out, but to keep me in. Safe, grounded, unreachable. I packed away her things, what little was left, and dropped them at Kelsey's place. Kelsey didn't ask questions, just nodded. You're doing the right thing, she said quietly. I nodded back. Weeks passed. Claire never tried to reach me again. Until one morning, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name, in her handwriting. I almost threw it away. But I opened it. It was short, careful, no apology, just a few lines. I know you think you've seen all the truth, but you haven't. I made mistakes, Ethan. But you weren't perfect either. Maybe someday we'll both understand how we got here. Claire. No tears. No begging. Just that. I folded it once. Then again. Then dropped in the trash. That letter wasn't closure. It was an attempt to rewrite history. But I wasn't living in the past anymore. I pour myself in a routine. Work. Gym. Cooking dinner for myself. Friday night runs through the quiet streets of my neighborhood. I read more. I slept better. I found myself again, piece by piece. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cinematic. It was just steady, quiet healing. No noise. No more lies. Just breath and time. And maybe peace. It's been 9 months since Claire left. 9 months since the life I built crumbled, and I walked away. Not just from her, but from a version of myself who kept forgiving things that should never have been forgiven. I thought the hardest part would be the beginning. Finding out. Confronting her. Signing the papers. But it wasn't. The hardest part was waking up the next day and realizing I was free and still afraid. Afraid of silence. Afraid of being alone. Afraid that I would never trust someone again. Because betrayal like that, it doesn't just end a marriage. It rewires the way you see the world. But little by little, I started building something new. Morning started with early sunrises and coffee I brewed just the way I liked it. Strong, no sugar. I stopped checking my phone for texts that would never come. I got back into running, miles at a time, headphones in, letting sweat carry away what words never could. Work became a place of clarity. I asked for a transfer out of the city, moved to a smaller branch in Bellingham. Quiet town, fewer deadlines, more trees than traffic. I bought a used Jeep, sold the couch she picked, repainted the house with my own hands. Color by color, step by step, I claimed my space again. I learned how to cook more than just pasta and eggs. I called my mom more. I said yes to dinners with coworkers. I said no to people who drained me. And most of all, I stopped asking why me. Sometimes the past comes back in pieces. A song we once danced to plays in a coffee shop. A bakery sells the kind of cake she used to buy for my birthday. Or I pass a woman wearing her perfume and it hits like a whisper in the ribs. But none of it breaks me anymore. It just reminds me, I survived. A few weeks ago, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Claire moved to Chicago. She's working at a boutique event firm again. No big splash. No new wedding. Just existing somewhere else. I didn't feel anything when I heard it. Not hate. Not pity. Just a quiet nod to the version of me that once loved her. And then I moved on with my day. Sometimes people ask me if I ever got revenge. They expect a dramatic story. A confrontation. A scandal. Maybe even some grand act that left a reputation in shambles. But here's what I tell them. Revenge isn't always about destruction. Sometimes it's about distance. About rebuilding the life they try to ruin and making it stronger than it ever was. It's sleeping peacefully at night while they lie awake with everything they lost. It's knowing the truth and walking away without needing to scream it. That is the best kind of revenge. And maybe someday, someone new will walk into my life. Someone who doesn't make me second-guess quiet moments. Someone who values the kind of loyalty I offered and will offer again, carefully. But I'm not rushing. Because right now, I like the man I see in the mirror. He's not bitter. He's not broken. He's just free. And for the first time in a long time, that's enough.